This week's edition of our Four Questions Journalist Spotlight is brought to you by Leff Atlanta Media, Atlanta's best journalist database. Subscribe at leffsatlantamedia.com. Welcome to the next edition of our Four Questions Journalist Spotlight, where we meet and talk with a Georgia journalist about things that are happening at their media outlet, what their job's like, and then we ask some fun questions and try to figure out what the coolest thing about them is. So I'm giving you a head start. Coolest thing about you. I'm going to ask that later. Okay. So we are talking today with Alexa Liacko. And Alexa is a reporter with CBS Atlanta, which is the newest addition to Dial, channel 69, if you still use those numbers. On my cable, it's 810. Not that matters to everybody, but
And we're on Paramount Plus.
There you go. Yeah. And CBSAtlanta.com, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So good morning, Alexa. Thank you for taking a few minutes with us.
Good morning. I'm happy to be here.
Well, so let's start with this. Tell us a little bit about CBS Atlanta and what the station is and what it isn't and what you guys are trying to do here.
I love this question because this is my favorite job that I've ever had. So I am so happy to be able to talk about it because this is the most unique place that I've ever worked. And I think what we're doing is really different. And I think that's what makes it so special. From my perspective as a reporter, I get to do all kinds of stories that I would never otherwise get to do in this market. And we have a kind of different setup where we really focus on community journalism first. So we have a couple of reporters and we all rotate through these schedules. So we all have rotating schedules as reporters, which I think is really refreshing and cool, kind of keeps you on your toes and you can never get bored because you're always moving. And so we'll do live shot day of stories for a week. Usually 1 week out of the month is how it works, where we're doing, day turns. What's the biggest story of the day? And oftentimes this actually is a story that's happening on the national level. What's, kind of the biggest news of our country of the day, but we're going to bring it to, okay, how does it impact families right here in Atlanta and the metro and beyond? And I think that's really cool because I think at a lot of other places, you see some really hyper local stories that maybe don't impact as much of Atlanta and beyond. But I think what makes our daily coverage different is that we get to focus on stories that more people are talking about and more people are touched by in all corners, whether, you live way outside the city, whether you live right in downtown Atlanta. And so I think that's something that makes it special. It's challenging because we have to be able to connect with, all kinds of different groups and people in an instant. And, a lot of our stories are not just a one-stop shop. But I think it makes it more applicable to more people watching. And then the other 3 weeks out of the month, which are, I will put it out there, my favorite 3 weeks out of the month are our enterprise story weeks. So we have to turn 3 stories a week and they can be anything we want to pitch. So I'll give you a little sneak peek on the breadth and weird and wacky depth of my stories. This week, I'm doing a story on a needlepoint club that brings women of all ages together every week. They meet, they needlepoint and stitch. And, there's women who are 80, there's women who are 22 that come and it's about community and, getting a place to meet people that you wouldn't otherwise meet. Yesterday, I did a story on potentially getting rid of Georgia's state income tax. So we're doing everything from politics to needlepoint, and then working on some stories about data centers and the impact on our community there, which is going to be a big story over the next several years. And then even down to something as sweet as an APD officer doing an act of kindness for kids in his neighborhood. So we get to do kind of all kinds of stories, which I think is so refreshing because we've spoken to a lot of members of the community. We've done like a lot of surveys as far as what should we cover at CBS News Atlanta? How should we be different? And what people have said they want to hear is one, the good things that are happening in our community because the news is so negative. People hate that doom scrolling effect of the news where they turn it off and are, kind of taken aback by all the bad things going on. And, the tough stuff is important to learn about, but there is so much good going on. And I think that's really what makes us different is we're covering the positive, the change makers, and the solutions.
Yeah, there are some days where I'll turn on a newscast. It's like, okay, shooting today, carjacking today, fire today, car wreck today. I'm like, maybe not stack those all together at
Yes,
the
and
top
if
of the
if that's
newscast.
what you watch every day, you would probably think, "Wow, Atlanta's kind of a horrible place to live." But as we all know, we all live here. It's a wonderful place to live. There's great things. You have great conversations with random people at the coffee shop. At least I do because I will talk anybody's ear off. But it's a rich, wonderful place to live here. There's so much diversity as far as, the people that live here, the people that move here, the food you can find here, the activities, you can do things in the city, you can do things in the mountains. And I think our team and the group of reporters, producers that they've compiled, everybody comes from different corners of the city and beyond and brings their own personal experiences. And that's something that's really treasured by our leaders is they want all of us to bring kind of our sparkle and spice and what we love to cover and the people that we, know and are friends with to the newscast. And I think that's been such a joy for me.
So right now, you guys have a 6 p.m. and an 11 p.m. newscast, and I understand that at some point you'll be expanding to weekends and mornings once you kind of get your, I don't say get your feet wet, but once you get your feet wet.
Yes, yes. And they've given us kind of a heads up that hey, that's coming soon, but not so many details. So we're strapped in for the ride. And but yes, absolutely. What we can say is expect more programming soon. Expect us to be streaming soon. We wanted to, make sure we have a lot of product and a lot of news for people to watch before the streaming happens. And so once, we're all ready to jump off that diving board, then the streaming will be up. We'll have more programming. And I literally just talked with my news director last night. We're still hiring. So, there's a lot of things left to build, which I think is part of why it makes it so fun and exciting. But I definitely think next year is going to be absolutely a huge year for new shows, new hours of the day. Don't forget the noon, yeah, morning show weekends, some other early afternoon programming as well. So I don't know. I don't have any tea on the dates for you on that, but I know it's all coming.
Yeah, no, I asked someone over there who I will not name because he was, as they say, not authorized to discuss something, 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 like with that official disclaimer. But yeah, and I figured, mornings obviously because you've got that morning show donut to fill, and then you've got weekends are always a good one too.
Yeah,
Um,
this is a very rare situation. The first newsroom I've worked in that does not have weekend programming, and it will change. So,
yeah,
but for
not yet,
now,
not yet, right?
for now, we do not have weekend programming, but that is absolutely on the docket, and we definitely are on call. So if all what breaks loose on the weekends, we're going to be there no matter what.
Yeah. Well, and you guys have, I think folks will recognize a lot of the names and faces over there from other stations around town. You've got the renowned, world renowned Ryan Dennis on the assignment desk, right? Shout out to Ryan.
Yes, shout out to Ryan. He's amazing. And I think that's something like they've pulled people that have such deep ties and roots and connections in Atlanta. So we never have to go too far to find somebody for a
Yeah.
story.
Let's see. So we've got Jobita Fortson Evans anchoring,
Yes.
and Sean Hoder, who came from I think XIA here in town at one point. Let's see. Keisha Lanson, she's been there. Keisha's been there forever. Sharon Lawson, who came from WAGA, and Madeline Montgomery, who came from 46. Alex Sands, who came from AP and the AJC. Orland Sydney, who's been around forever doing weather, and Andrew Tyree, who was at let's see, where was he? He was at Atlanta and Company on XA for a while. So, that's a good portion of the staff. Then there's some other great folks. Talked to Leandra Head already about some stories, and I haven't talked to Brian Unger yet, but I like what he's doing.
Oh, he's awesome. I could give you a 5-minute dissertation on each of those people that you listed. They are all so joyful and so hardworking and so talented. And our morning meetings they last a little bit longer than they should because everybody's chiming in on, hey, I know somebody, I can help you. Hey, what about this? I read this article this morning. It's such a collaborative effort. And I am so proud of the team that I'm on because everybody wants to be there, everybody wants to succeed, and the energy of building something new together is so infectious. And we've all had many conversations that, of course, we're in the honeymoon phase right now, but we're like, we are committed to keeping this good energy going because this is the energy that sustains a really successful newsroom. And I think it's in everyone's hearts to just keep that positivity rolling because we all really do love what we do at the heart of it. Everybody goes the extra mile. There's not one person that is phoning it in. Everybody probably works a couple of minutes more than they should, and but it shows and it makes it so you actually want to go to work in the morning, which that you cannot put a price tag on.
There's something to say about that, right? Well, this is probably the first
Absolutely.
time, and I've been doing PR in Atlanta for almost 40 years. This is probably the first time that I'm gonna think. I think it's the first time that someone has started a TV news operation from the ground up. There have been some, kind of, hey, new news director, we're gonna regroup kind of things, but I can't remember anyone who started a news operation here in town from nothing and said, we're gonna build this. So that's a cool thing to be able to have that opportunity to do that. And I know that that first week or two was I mean, it was announced, and I know the folks at Channel 46 who were going independent were scrambling to figure out how they were going to work, and then you guys were trying to figure out how to launch your news operation at that same time. So that was kind of cool. Well, tell
Yeah,
us a
it's crazy. And there's still construction going on in our building every single day. So we're still in process of really establishing everything as it will be, which is fun and exciting. I feel like I'm living in an HGTV, renovation show currently.
well, and the way I mean, it's kind of unique the way that you guys are shooting the newscast too. There's not a traditional anchor sitting at a desk kind of thing. It's literally a green screen, right? You want to talk about that for a second?
Yeah, absolutely. We call it the big green bathtub. So if you hear someone reference that on air, you obviously won't see it because it's just a giant, it could be a skate park because it is literally like curved walls into a green bowl bathtub thing. And that's a very scientific way to describe it. But it's completely virtual. There's no chairs, there's no desk, and there's just a jib operator, and there's teleprompters that are all over, and there's a teleprompter that's attached to the jib camera. And then there are tiny, marks on the floor. And Jobina and Sharon, they're amazing. And they have really, been able to master kind of the math of, okay, I'm going to take 5 steps to walk from this mark to this mark while we're talking and telling the story, and monitors are popping up. So it really is kind of an orchestra symphony of factors coming into play to deliver this newscast in the hopes that it's visually exciting, entertaining, and just so much more interesting than any other newscast that you would find. And basically the producers are kind of the masters behind it, and they can choose and they make it different every single day, how to create this map of a newscast. So you can use maps of the Atlanta Metro and have DeKalb County popping up here, and then you can walk over and have Fulton County pop up here and tell a story, so we can show that our team is all over the Metro, and you can actually see it and feel it.
I am impressed that like the graphics seem to pop up. I mean, I'm sure this is a lot of practice and rehearsal getting it done, but it'd be like, hey, look, here's this, and it pops up right in the right spot, and obviously the anchor is in the right spot to
Well,
for it
and
to pop
I'll
up.
give you a little inside baseball on that. We will all wear a tiny tracker. It looks like a microphone. It's a little white ball. And this is one of the coolest pieces of technology. And so the tracker talks with, there are other little tracker devices all around the top of the green bathtub. So these tracker devices will communicate with the tracker that you're wearing on your clothing, and that is how the monitor will know to pop up next to you and not in front of you.
Oh,
So
that is so good. So
you
cool.
have to get to about the right place,
Right.
and then the graphic will pop up, but it will make sure not to cover you because it sees you're here, so it makes sure it goes just enough to the side of you. So, and the other part of the magic too is if, maybe Jobina or Sharon doesn't get exactly to the mark, the jib operator can work around them to still make it look perfect. So
Right.
there's a lot of TV magic that goes on, and a lot of skill and effort and multitasking by the anchors and the studio crew, the director on the floor to make sure that everybody's talking and communicating without speaking to make it look perfect.
It seems like it would be, you're probably you're looking at a couple of different places to see the prompter, to see what the graphics are, to see, all the different things. So it's like, I guess it's like being kind of somewhat being an actor on a green screen. You have to imagine that you are running through the woods, and because that's what the viewer is seeing. You're running through the woods, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It kind of feels we've talked about this. We're like we kind of feel like we're in a play and you're kind of on a stage performing because you have to be aware of, how your body is oriented to the camera and there's no, you can't hide behind a desk. It's all out there, but I think it makes it a more conversational and casual experience where the viewer feels like, okay, this person's, just talking to their friends instead of I'm sitting behind the desk and we're formal and here's the news. We don't want to do that. But so I think that's kind of the fun of it too. But yeah, it feels like you have to, really practice and know your marks. At least when I've been in the studio, we always do a run through. So it's so to make sure that the movements aren't awkward or that the way the show is stacked and orchestrated makes sense physically.
Right. All right. So walk us through your kind of career path that has brought you here.
Well, I have had a boomerang Atlanta life, and so this is my second go around living in Atlanta, and I hope that the boomerang sits still for a bit and or forever because we really love it here and we feel like we're building a really nice life here. My first job was in Tucson, Arizona at the Scripps affiliate over there and spent a couple years covering border issues and doing some really interesting reporting down there on all kinds of things like that. That was a heavily crime focused market as well. But let me do a little bit of enterprise work. And that's kind of, I think, where the bug got started as far as bringing me here to where I am today. And then my second job was my first time living in Atlanta at Fox 5 Atlanta for 2 years. I was an MMJ reporter there. And that was an incredible boot camp of covering breaking news, getting fast, writing, shooting, editing, doing everything on my own. And I'm not gonna lie, it was a stressful uphill run for a few months, really getting my feet on the ground here. But it was the best training. They have a great team over there who really supported me at every turn, and I feel like really gave me the foundational skills that I use literally every day in my career. And then that propelled me to take a job with Scripps News in Denver. And I moved there 1 month into the COVID lockdown. So I moved there in April of 2020. And by June of 2020, we were out on airplanes traveling the country. My assignment was on a political kind of human interest magazine show of sorts, where every week we would pick a political topic, whether it's healthcare, taxes, you know, prescription drugs, guns. We would talk about all kinds of these, big overarching issues. And our assignment was to find the people that are impacted, find the people that are making solutions, making change. So it really is what I'm doing today at CBS Atlanta on a national scale. So I think that job was amazing. We traveled to 46 states over 2.5 years. So I've got four left and I will make it to Wyoming one day. And but it was really an incredible experience and I loved it because I got to travel and meet people that I absolutely would have never met otherwise, but really impacted me and changed me as a person and changed my outlook on the whole world. And so I think that that is the privilege of what we get to do And in 2023, I moved back to Atlanta with Scripps News to anchor and do some correspondent work with them. And then last year, as I'm sure you've covered, Scripps News laid off our Atlanta office. And so I was part of that. And it was certainly a shock and a surprise, but it was, I think, a blessing in a way because it brought me to the job that I have now, which I'm so grateful for. And I freelanced with Fox 5 over the last year, and that was really fun. And I realized that I missed local coverage. And so that was something that was fun to dip my toes back into. And then this opportunity with CBS News Atlanta came up, and I could not let this pass me by because storytelling is absolutely what lights my fire. If you ask any of my coworkers, I have talked their ears off about a story that I'm working on because I'm actually excited about it. And they're like, okay, that sounds cool. We'll see it when it airs.
Go
And
do that. Go do that. Go
go,
do that.
go
We're
on,
talking about
girlfriend.
it. Go do it. Go do it.
Yes. So, yeah, it was a long and windy road around the country, but here we are back in Atlanta.
Yeah, which, is not atypical for television journalists to
Yes. If you
start in
haven't
smaller
packed up your
markets or whatever.
house 12
Yeah.
times, are you even in news?
Yeah. If you haven't worked in Idaho Falls, Idaho for a year or two, right?
Yes.
I did some work at CNN for their student news show, and a couple of the student news interns, that was their first job, was Idaho Falls, Idaho. They're like,
We
"Where
all
is
have to
that?"
go to the small town. Yeah, I was gonna say,
They
I'm
looked,
not
they
sure. I
looked,
haven't, I
they
haven't been
looked.
there.
We looked it up and I looked up the average winter temperatures. It was really really cold. Let's get into the really hard questions now.
Okay.
So, what's something cool or fun about you that people might not know about? And that could be a hobby, a talent, things you collect, anything like that.
Well, my probably favorite thing to do at home is cook, try new recipes. I will say my husband and I have a who's the best chef of the house competition going on, and I don't want to say this publicly, but I will because I'm a truth teller here. I think he's winning right now because he did a really good beef Wellington a
Oh,
couple
wow.
months ago, and I have not topped that. But we love to cook, and cooking competitions and cooking shows are my absolute guilty pleasure, and I eat those up like candy. So there is not a cooking competition that I have not watched. And I don't know why, but I love to watch the creativity and what people can turn something beautiful out in 30 minutes time when it takes me that much time to, chop up 20 things.
I will say my wife is the master chef in our house, and I don't even try. So I mean, I can cook. I'm not bad. It's better in the woods than in the kitchen sometimes, but
Hey, the
uh
outdoor skills are useful.
yeah, but she's an awesome cook. Okay, last book you've read or the last podcast you've listened to.
Well, I am currently reading a book, so I haven't finished it yet, so I don't know if this counts, but it's called
Wait.
Clicquot. It's about the woman who founded the Veuve Clicquot champagne empire, and it's a cool story about, a woman in a man's world and how she really, built something that we all know today and enjoy, and how she did it. And she was widowed, and so I think it's a cool story. I haven't finished it yet, so I don't know
Okay,
exactly all the
that's
details, but
that's
that's
all right.
something that I love. And my favorite podcast that I listen to is the Happiness Lab. I think that's so inspiring to listen to. I think all their research is interesting, and if I'm not on the phone in the car with one of my girlfriends or my mom, I always have the Happiness Lab on because I'm like, this is better than listening to the news. I like to learn while I'm in the car.
Okay, so let's see. Next one, a favorite local restaurant.
Okay, this one's got to be Delbar, not a hidden gem, not a hidden gem. Everybody knows Delbar, but their rice with the crispy onions on top is something I dream about. And I've tried to recreate it at home, and we've gotten a couple good batches, but I still have to go to the restaurant to buy it.
I've had a couple of people tell me to go there. I haven't made it there yet, but I'm looking.
Oh,
Okay, I know,
Mitch, come
I know. Wait,
on.
there's too many places to eat in this
There,
town.
there really, there are amazing options here. We do not go hungry, and I love that.
Right. Favorite local getaway.
Ooh, local getaway. Last year for my best friend's birthday, we went to Blue Ridge to the mountains and rented a cabin, and that was really fun and gorgeous. And I absolutely loved that. My husband and I have also been to Savannah a couple of times, and we always have a fun time there and love to eat the food down there. But there's so many gorgeous places to go right around Georgia. So I've got to say, I was impressed by our little cabin getaway. It was really fun.
Blue Ridge is nice. It's a great area. Okay, favorite non-work hobby.
Ooh, favorite non-work hobby. I have to say, my hobby lately has been boxing classes, and I think physically is very challenging and great, and I always feel like I broke a good sweat, but also mentally it is kind of therapeutic in a way. And so you leave that class feeling completely just fresh, clean, and you wiped your mental slate clean. You left all the stress of the day on the bag, and yeah, it is hard, and I sometimes have to just stand there and take a breather in class because the trainers are crazy. But that's kind of been my new hobby that I have really enjoyed trying to get good at. I am not, but I try.
Well, yeah, you got to try new things, and sometimes it is just really helpful to hit something.
Yeah.
I have days like that. Just
You
want to go
know,
hit.
you gotta
Just
come
want to
to a
go hit.
boxing class. It's surprisingly nice.
Well, the LA Fitness near me has the training room has a bunch of bags hanging, and I asked them. I said, "Do you guys do classes?" And they said no. And then like the week later, I saw somebody in there hitting the bags. So I was like, okay, maybe I can just go hit the bags. So,
You should.
yeah. All right. So let's see. We talked about. Let's see. I think you said what your guilty pleasure was, right?
Yeah, guilty pleasures, cooking shows, and or Love
Cooking.
Island. That one's embarrassing, but it's true.
I,
That one takes up my summer. I am
I
sad
have
to say, but
I have
I can't help it.
I have not watched that one. Okay. All right. Is there anything we haven't talked about CBS Atlanta that we forgot to mention? Okay. So the website is cbsatlanta.com. The
CBSNewsAtlanta.com is the
cbsnewsatlanta.com. Okay.
website, and our
Okay.
TikTok and our Instagram. We have a great social media producer. His name's Damien. Shout out. He helps me with my content too. But he puts together a lot of great stuff for TikTok and for Instagram. He posted signs around our newsroom and said that we have to tell 5 friends a day to go follow CBS News Atlanta on TikTok and Instagram. So I am going to tell you that today, and I think that counts for my 5 friends.
Yeah, probably more than that because lots of people are going to see this and hear this. Um, okay. And if folks want to contact you with a story idea, what's the best way to do that? You like text, email? What's the best thing to use?
Please do. I think email is probably the best because I am always going to check my email every single morning. So if I don't get back to you that day, I will see it the very following morning. And it's just Alexa.Liacco at CBS.com. So, and that way I
And I'll
can forward.
put it in the show notes and all that.
Okay, perfect. And that way I can forward it right to my boss and say, hey, we should cover this. And we love, love, love to have people reach out to us about someone who's doing something amazing in your community. They've solved a problem. They have brought people together. They have created something cool or interesting or unique, opened up a new restaurant, coffee shop, opened up a new nonprofit that's helping people in a different way. All those stories that you may not get to see on other newscasts, we want to dedicate time to covering and showing and showcasing all the happy and good that's happening. And so, yeah, I would absolutely love people to reach out.
All right. Thank you so much, Alexa. We have been talking with Alexa Liacko, reporter with CBS News Atlanta, CBS Atlanta, channel 69 on the dial, 810 on my dial, though your dial numbers may vary, depending on your cable operator. As always, if you want to see our archive of 4 questions journalist spotlights, go to YouTube, or you can listen the audio version on Amazon or Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. It feeds it out all over the place, whether you want to listen or watch. You can do both. And if you're looking for our database of Atlanta media, go to leffsatlantamedia.com and click the subscribe button. Our Mitch's Media Musings newsletter every month, where we talk about all the fun things and interesting things happening in Atlanta's journalism community. Alexa, thank you so much.
Thanks, Mitch.
And we'll see everybody next time.